Hello, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon Live. It's Shannon. Because you don't know how it's going to turn out. It's Shannon.
My kids empowered me to get out.
What's going on with this remote learning and in the midst of COVID?
Working for different elected officials, learning and understanding how to put the community first.
Hello, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon. We are back. I know we went on break for a while. It was because I was sick. I got real sick. But I'm feeling much better now. Thank everybody for their calls and their prayers. And I'd also like to share our good news. We won 2 awards of the Be Free Awards from Bricks Arts Media on Saturday. So congratulations to us, Keeping It Real with Shannon. So take a look. Take a look at our little speech. Oh my God, I made it! Oh my God, we only got a few minutes. I have to talk fast. I just want to say, Brick, I started out with DCAT, so I'll always know it's DCAT. My show kicked off in 1998. I come with a lot of drama. So my first show was King Tone, who was the head of the Latin King. And DCAT really had a fit because I brought a gangster into the studio. But we made history that night because the NBC was following him that day. They came and take me, show an interviewing him, so we was on NBC that night. But it was okay with DCAT after that. So, but I want to thank all the staff at DCAT for all your help. All the staff, Kareem, Tyrone, Jay, and Leslie, all of them for supporting us. Also, I want to thank my director here, Tiffany, my co-host, Allison, my other co-host is traveling. And, we've come a long ways. We also won the National Festival Award when we had to go to Texas to get that award. So this is our 3rd award, so we've been doing pretty good. So I think I'm not the last producer that started out with me, so I'm the old one now. So I want to say to the young producers, keep doing what you are doing, but most of all, enjoy what you're doing with your show. So keep it going. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, congratulations to us.
Well, I feel left out.
Well, nobody told you to go travel, so that's you.
No, but you don't say the other co-host is traveling. You're supposed to mention my name. What do you mean co-host is traveling?
Well, they know who you are, Dr.
No, they
Vanessa.
don't. No, they don't.
They know who you are, Dr. Vanessa. So next time, make sure your butt's here. That's all.
You know I was one.
So thank you for joining us tonight. We have a great show. Our topic tonight is how to get a simple divorce, if you were thinking about it. So we have a very special guest joining us, and so we're going to introduce him at this time.
Yes, our special guest tonight is Mr. Sandler Francois. He is a paralegal at Premier Life Solutions, and his specialization is divorce. I'm not talking about just any divorce. The quickest divorces you can get filed within a week. So everybody's knocking at his front door. So let's welcome our guest tonight, Mr. Sandler Francois.
Great day, ladies. Great day. Thank you so much for having me. I'm on an award-winning show, and Lottie, you have not only an Oprah presence about you, but you have 2 Gales, and one of them is sitting right next to you. So shout out to the other one, Allison, that's missing. Shout out to Tiffany. This is fantastic. I'm so happy to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on tonight. This is very interesting because, every time we are getting married, the next thing you know, we're getting divorced. And, a lot of that is going on now. And I guess, we need to really kind of think about it, but that's what we're saying. The first thing we need to think about is why people want to get married.
They just jump to marriage so quick. They don't have a plan. They don't see counseling. They just because.
Just because is right. You know what's interesting? The fact is that marriages are still at a high level, above 50%. But divorces have increased about 65% within the first 5 years. 65% within the first 5 years. Now, there's a lot of politics that go into that, such as same-sex marriages, civil unions that got converted to formal marriages, which are, what's considered now traditional marriages. So that kind of contributed to the uptick. But divorce is definitely on the rise, and it's almost like the newest thing to do with a lot of couples.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, I know sometimes people say it's good to go to counseling, but I always felt like, what's the purpose of going to counseling anyway? Because you still got to get to know the person. And the only way you get to know each other is when you start hibernating together and finding out about each other, their ways. You have to learn what makes that person tick, what upsets them, what makes them angry. And if you know what makes them angry and everything, then don't do those things to them. You got to know how to treat each other. And it's all about learning each other and not be willing to snap and jump as soon as a big argument happens, talking about, I'm out of here.
But
right.
I wonder how many, Sandra, I'd like for you to tell me, have the divorce rate increased since COVID? Because, during COVID, people had to meet their spouses, right? How many spouses wasn't home? They don't know who's who, what they look like. They're home now. They have no choice but to know each other. So did divorce rates go up after COVID?
Well, you know what, Doc? I'm going to tell you something that happened when March 2020, what took place was I got calls from a lot of my friends. They said, man, you're about to make a lot of money, because everyone was home. But I got to tell you, when I speak to attorney colleagues and my non-attorney colleagues that are in the business, we all say the same thing. The divorces didn't start to increase until the courts reopened. Because one thing people didn't factor in is, we're stuck at home. Yeah, we might get a little conflict or discover we had conflict all along, but there was nowhere to go because you had to stay home. So that means the people in the court were home too. So the divorces did not start to increase until the courts opened up over a year later.
Yeah, but I figured if that started during the pandemic, then something was going on before the pandemic, because if you should have known who each other is before the pandemic even happened. You stand together. So that means you're not taking any time with each other way before the pandemic comes, that you wasn't spending no time getting to know each other. Because it's the same thing with the children. You didn't know you had bad children until you had to keep them home during the pandemic. Then you knew how bad it was and what the teacher was going through. So that's what I'm saying. That's the same thing to me with your husband or your wife, is because you're not getting to know each other.
No, it's long before the pandemic, right? We're not talking about people that
but we're not talking about people that you don't know each other.
No, but that's what I'm saying, is when they got to know each other, they realized that's not what they want. So now when you stuck in the house with somebody that could be a stranger to many,
I don't think it's not that you didn't know that's not what you wanted. I think it's because now you realize now that you didn't spend time with each other like you should have, so you can get to know each other.
But now,
and that was a perfect opportunity to get to know each other. But for the most part, what happened, Doc, I'm going to tell you, because I'm going to pass the mic to you. What happened was people went the other way. When they realized that they had a stranger sleeping next to them, that's when they had time to realize, I hope they realized, that I was distracted by work. We were distracted by the kids, which I can say from my own personal experience. Sometimes we can get so lost in the kids, and wanting to maintain a great family. And in my case, which we'll talk about if you want to have the proper family image, that we're the Francois, for example, that what would happen is when all the lights go out and it's just you two, you realize that you don't know who the other person is.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. And then when you talk about the
kids, so since you were in the house together and you realize, okay, well, I didn't know that about him or whatever. So why wouldn't you still try to get to know that person while you stuck together and everything? So now this is an opportunity for you to try to kind of really get to know each other. I think people that jump too quickly to want to leave each other.
Sometimes too much time passes. And that's the opportunity to exit. Sometimes people need an excuse. Sometimes people need a reason to marinate and to think about what they had or what they don't want. Don't forget, these people was home from work, so they spent time at assessing their own selves, right? They wasn't like going to work 9 to 5, 10 next to work, so they had a whole idea. Look at themselves every day. Look at their environment every day. Look at their four walls every day. Like, damn, you know what? Either I could do better by myself, or this is definitely what I don't want. So they had more. It was like a self-care.
Speaking of self-care, you know who did make money? Therapists.
Yes.
He made tons of money, especially because all of them had to hunker down. Instead of taking people one by one, 45 minutes, 45 minutes, 45 minutes, they were shortened to 20 or 30-minute session. Click, 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 next,
exactly.
next. And I dare to say, for a lot of the therapy, and shout out to all my therapists, pretty much everyone in America needs a therapist. Everyone in the world probably needs somebody to talk to.
Oh yeah, we all need therapy.
So amen. Let the church say amen. So, but with that being said, the quality of therapy is the question, because I encountered a lot of therapists, in my work that were reaching out to me for referrals. You would think they had enough people, but they're reaching out to me for referrals. And I started to screen them, talk to them. And I would see, just like any other field, you have low end, middle, which is the majority, and then you have the high end. The high end you can never gain access to. The middle is hit or miss in terms of how good they are. And low, they're just ready for you, but they're not going to give you the treatment you need. So when people were at home, they either got bad therapy, they refused it, or they just got therapy for themselves and all of a sudden had a reawakening that perhaps I can do this by myself. Now, whether that was good or bad, that's a personal choice. But it did contribute to what I'm receiving now, which is a huge increase in divorces, people not giving each other a chance, not wanting to do the work, not wanting to woosah and have grace, and to just look at each other and say, you're just as messed up as I am, and I'm just as messed up as you are. Let's figure this out.
But we're quick to say that people it's quick to get a divorce, but we fail to realize too, we don't know how much they have been through to get to that point. Okay, easy to say, have you talked about it? Have you tried counseling? Did you think about it? Or maybe we should try it again. Sometimes that's all it takes. And you don't know how much a person put up with, and they see an outlet, another resource, other resources that are out there. They say, okay, I want to do something else. I want to branch out. This was a chapter in my life. Let me put this behind me. Let me move forward. Let me do something new. And it's okay. We have to always let people know that it's okay to say no. It's okay if you don't want something. It's okay if you have grown and went beyond what people think as the norm. Okay, you got a mother and father, husband and wife, you have kids. But sometimes you can't always have the ideal family setting, and there's a problem. I think that causes more harm than help.
And I think to piggyback on that very briefly, Doc and Shannon, what we're looking at is also, while some people did the self work, they didn't do the family work, and some couples don't establish a therapy routine because one of the people just refuses to cooperate. Let's be honest. But at the same time, what we're looking at is the fact that what's being exposed is people didn't do the work in terms of like what Shannon's saying.
Well, hold that thought. Hold that thought, Sandler. We're going to go to the break and we'll be right back.
Gotcha.
We'll be right back.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon.
People couldn't see my potential, so I had to show them.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
Today, I'm the CEO of my own company.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Why are we not rethinking this?
I am more.
I'm more than
who I am on paper.
Welcome back. Our guest tonight is Mr. Sandler Francois.
You got it. It's smooth. Come on now.
We're talking about the simple paperwork for divorce and trying to stay together before we get to the divorce that we was talking about before we went to the break. But if you decide that you just can't stay with each other and you feel that you just can't work it out, then okay, go on and get your paperwork and get your divorce. And Mr. Sandler is going to show you how to get some simple paperwork done to get a simple, quick divorce that you think is simple, but it's not.
No, it's not very simple. One thing I like to tell people, there is a word that I like to emphasize tonight. And it's the word pro se, P-R-O -S-E, pro se. Do it yourself, DIY, do it yourself. And I have some people that come to me. You can go to the court to get forms. They'll give you a big stack of forms that you'll probably never get through unless you have a whole lot of time in your hands and a ton of patience. But long story short, I get a ton of people that come to me with these forms, and they say, I need help just going through this. And they think after 30 minutes, they'll get everything done. And I tell them that's a lie. And I ask them, what do you do? And they say, well, I'm a chef. I say, okay, so suppose I come to your job and I say, move aside, I'm going to cook tonight. You would probably look at me like I'm crazy. Not because I can't cook, but because I don't do what you do on a daily basis, the way you do it. So I try to explain to someone, while you can get the job done, and I encourage the small percentage, notice I said small percentage of people that can utilize the court's forms to get a simple divorce done, the majority of people should receive some sort of assistance. And it starts with this. First, speak to your spouse. Before you call a lawyer, before you call a paralegal, before you call a paralegal or a divorce professional like myself, or the few that are out there that are high quality, I would say speak to your spouse. Get the business parts out of the way first before you start filling out paperwork. Because what I tend to see, ladies and gentlemen out there, a lot of times you'll come out to me and I'll see you're doing it backwards. The same thing that contributed to the conflict in the marriage is going to contribute to a very turbulent divorce, because you're doing things backwards. You're putting your heart in front of the business. And if you put the business in front, then your heart will have time to heal.
So the thing about it is now, the paper, if they don't use the paperwork, the papers from the courts, do you have a simplified paperwork for them to use to expedite the divorce, or you still use the court paperwork?
Absolutely not. Well, first,
the court.
They come to us. We don't use the court's paperwork for a few reasons. One, the court's paperwork, while it's written up by court officers, the left hand, the court officers that draw up the paperwork, do not work with the judges who sign off. So many times people will come with that stack of paperwork and say, I got this back from the court and they said it's no good and I have to fix it. And they wouldn't even tell me what the problem is. And it's their stuff. And I would say, well, guess what? The people that drafted it and the clerks that reviewed it have no power like the judge that signs it off. And by the time the judge looks at it, he or she kicks it back. And they just give you a few explanations that are hard to understand. So then you come to me. What I do for people in that situation is I look at it, I keep the parts that are working, that didn't have an issue, and I work on the trouble parts, and I draft it fresh. But if you're coming to our office in general, we start you with a simple interview. It's a 4-step process, and I like to call it how to get divorced fast. And when it comes to how to get divorced fast, it's only 4 steps. And any divorce process, once you make the important decision, the hardest part is making the decision. Everything else should be easy as far as the paperwork's concerned, because you have a whole life over here that you have to reconstruct. You know, personally, myself, Lonnie, Dr. V, we can't help you with that. You know, you have to reconstruct your life. So leave the burden with us. And it starts with an interview, gathering of names, addresses, dates of birth for you, your spouse, the children, if there are any. So that's number one, a simple interview. A lot of the information you tend to know off the top of your head without a problem. Most people know where their marriage dates are. Ha ha ha. Most men don't remember when they were married. But guess what? They can get their hands on the marriage certificate. So it starts with step 1. Step 2 would be some paperwork that has to be drafted, which you'll then sign, and it gets taken to the court. Step 3 is then time for your spouse to sign. And the number one question I get asked is, can either of you ladies, Shannon or Dr. V, when I say, okay, it's time for your spouse to sign, can you guess the number one question? The number one question I get when I say it's time for your spouse to sign.
I don't know where he is.
No, wait a minute. You mean tell me he have to sign it? I can't just divorce him on my own?
Those are good. Those are good. That's number 2. That's number 2. The number one question that people ask me is, what if they don't sign? What if they don't sign?
Yeah.
The person's present. They have access to the person. The person's coming to pick up the kids this afternoon. But what if he or she doesn't sign? And I say, right, well, not necessarily. We're not at the contesting point yet. But if someone doesn't sign, here's a simple answer. They have to get served. And fortunately, unfortunately, a lot of us know what that means. But I'll explain to the small percentage of people who have never been served or never had to serve anybody, or you didn't see Ice Cube in Friday or whatever movie that was, when they said, you got served. You know, what happens is this. Any adult over the age of 18, if they do not have a license, they can only do it 5 times in the calendar year. Any adult over the age of 18 can go to your soon-to-be ex-spouse, deliver a copy of the filed paperwork to him or her, and then they would sign something called an affidavit of service, declaring that the person was made aware. Why is this a big deal? Because the courts say, both of you knew when you were getting married, and I have proof of that because it's a marriage certificate that both of you signed the license for. That I need to see proof that your spouse knows that the divorce is happening, because many people think, like the answer that you both shared, many people think they can do the divorce with no signature. There's no such thing as a divorce with no signature for $199. That means that you're easily going to get divorced and walk off into the sunset, kick up your heels. You don't have to do anything. And for $1.99, your whole life is transformed again. That's a lie. That's a lie. And we're here to dispel that.
Okay, but you mentioned something very important, and you say pro se. I do a lot of my court engagements, I should say, as pro se. But I would say to people out there that's looking, don't look for a quick pick me, look for anything free. If you don't already know what you're doing, really go to a professional. I do a lot of things courts first, pro se, because I know what I'm doing. But when I'm running and my time is a little congested, I do reach out and pay somebody for that service, because you're spending time, you're wasting time. When you go to the judge, they sign things, not sign off, and then now you got to go back and start all over again. And the thing is, there's certain forms, particularly like the Bloomberg forms the courts use, and certain documentation, people just think they can go online and just print out documents and things and get it made, and you're paying for stuff that the courts are not even recognizing the forms.
Oh, I hope everybody heard that. I hope everybody heard that. You told some truth just now. You know, but what happens then? Go ahead, please, Shannon.
No, I was gonna say when you come to get the divorce, I mean, you wouldn't have spoken to the spouse already to let them know, okay, we getting a divorce, and we need to, get the divorce papers and everything, like, because what I don't understand, why would you go down there to get a divorce without the person knowing about it anyway? Like, if you can't you come to an agreement that we're going to divorce now, that this is not working, and we're going to get a divorce, and just go ahead with the two of you. I mean, I don't understand, why would you even go down there and the person don't know they're getting a divorce?
Well, there's
maturity. Well, maturity is it needs to be emphasized here. And a lot of people, and I'm not saying they're immature overall, but they're in a vulnerable point. And I have to have grace in this answer, because I can be funny and say a lot of stuff, but I want to come with grace, because a lot of times it's such a life-changing decision. And you should obviously include the other person, because you're changing their life also. Yeah. But I'll tell you, what you tend to see is most people think they're starting the divorce, but what I try to do is I try to set them back a step. I tell them two things. I say no to the majority of people that call my office, because they don't sound like they're ready. And I can tell you another day, I can tell you stories about people cursing me out, hanging up the phone, telling me that I'm crazy, and how do I know them? Or I must know their wife, or I must know their husband. I've had people accuse me of sleeping with their wife because I would do their divorce. It's like, I know your wife. I don't know who you are. So with that said, a lot of people they're so afraid of what it may feel like. They fear the unknown. So they just jump right ahead and say, I need to hire somebody. And that's one of the catchiest things that bothers me. Shout out to all my lawyer friends, but a lot of lawyers that I know, they know that they make a lot of money off of fear. And I don't believe in that. I totally refuse that. I like for people to know I'm a tool. My office is a tool in your life. We're a very small part of the big picture of your life. We're an important part of your life right now. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you go off into the sunset on your own, and you better hope you pick the right person to help you, to guide you, counsel you, and to do all the technical things that you probably should never, ever have to do again. In other words, don't get divorced again. Maybe get married again, but don't get divorced again.
Yeah, but then again, I echo the sentiment of what you're saying, because a lot of people really don't know what's in the lion's den once they get out there. But a lot of people, I think, are just not really ready. And a lot of people say, oh, don't get married, don't get divorced before 10 years, because Social Security says it, you can say. So there's a lot of things that come. with that. And they're like, wait a minute,
the streets be talking.
Exactly. Like,
but the thing about that is, you say that and everything, you never know if you are completely ready. Nobody knows what's going to happen when you get married, you going down that aisle thinking you're gonna be together for the rest of your life. And a lot of people stay together until they die behind each other, die together, or whatever. So you really never know what's gonna happen. You don't know what's gonna happen. You want to get married to stay together. So when you get married, and then you just have to try to make sure that you work it out. If it comes to the point, say if that person is beating you up, you know what I'm saying? It's a domestic violence.
Okay, this is serious like now.
Then it's time to go. So either it's gonna be going because either I'm gonna kill you or you're gonna kill me, because we're not gonna have that. I'm just saying, if it's not one of those situations and stuff like that, before you start jumping to wanting to get a divorce and all like that, at least try to see if you can work it out. You know what I'm saying? And then if you just see the love is gone. Now, see, once the love is gone, then it's time to go. If the love is still there, then why is it that you can't work it out? I don't get it.
I'm going to jump on over that one. Go ahead, Dr. B. I'm going to jump on that.
Was love there from the beginning? I find too many people getting married too young, too soon, and for the wrong reasons. And to me, marriage is overrated. I'm sorry. Marriage is overrated. It's not for everyone. Sometimes people don't understand what the purpose is serving. So I'm going to leave that thought. I'm going to put that pin right there.
But the thing about it is, you say it's overrated, but see, I think marriage is a good thing. I mean, I didn't have no problem being married because I like to take care of somebody. I like to take care of my man. I don't have no problem cooking.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
I just said, like you said, it's not for everybody, but marriage is for a lot of people. And they do work it out and they stay together.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So we're going to have to finish this part in the after show because our time have run out for this part of the show. So we want to thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Sandler. And we want to thank y'all for watching. And if you want to continue with us, you can stay for the after show. And we're going to continue the show there. So make sure you like us on Facebook. Go to our YouTube and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Today's show is sponsored by Abu's Bakery. If you have a sweet tooth, stop by Abu's Bakery for some delicious cakes and pies.
Do you like beautiful pictures for your home or your office? Then stop by Space Art Gallery. They have a large selection of pictures from around the world.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
Thank you. We're back for our after show. Thank you, Mr. Sandler, for sticking around for our after show. In the first part, we was talking, about people not jumping too quickly,
right?
To get a divorce and everything. And Dr. Vanessa was saying about, it's not for everybody. People getting young, whatever. I was saying that, it's not, marriage is not for everybody. But what I'm saying is, you won't know completely because you never know that person fully. You could be married for them for 5 or 10 years and they come up with something new. So you're not going to ever actually know the person, but you know enough about them that you can almost read your spouse when y'all really get close to each other. You can not tell what that spouse is, what they like, what they don't like, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to get close with each other. So when I'm not feeling well. I know when something's wrong with you. I can almost repeat your words coming out of your mouth and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? When you really get close with each other. But if you didn't get married to have a close relationship with each other, that's why I think people start drifting apart so quickly. It's because they don't try to build that closeness with each other.
And I'll say this. I'll try to make 3 brief points. Number one, to harken back to an earlier great point that you made, Shannon, and is the fact that most people don't have the guidance. They don't have the framework of what it's like. A lot of us, unfortunately, didn't see, I had the privilege of having a great mother and father. My father passed away last year. And I think about him not in mourning sadness, but I say, wow, my dad was a pretty great guy. I can now understand all the great things I saw him do. When my mother, as wonderful as she is, she was getting all the accolades. But I can see what death, I can tell you, I saw what death do you part looks like, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So the guidance and the framework. But second to that is someone actually teaching you. There are exercises, routines, and understandings about what it is when you're going to invest in a relationship. You don't invest money into the stock market and not do your research.
Right.
How are you going to invest your life into someone and not go ahead and do the research into two things? One, who you are, your strengths, but especially your weaknesses, your darkness, your the way you spend money, the way you like to eat in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, the fact that you just nasty overall, your feet stink.
Right.
You know,
Right.
or the fact that maybe you're obsessive compulsive. You like to keep the house clean. You know, you're an introvert, you're an extrovert. You know, learn yourself. But at the same time, marriage, on to your point, Shannon, marriage really does the best thing of teaching you patience while you learn the other person. For the rest of your life, you're a student of the other person.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
it.
But that's because things are going to happen. You're going to have arguments with each other. Because let me tell you, my mother and father, right? You know, my father was a working man. He worked 2 jobs. You know, he was an excellent cook. You know, he did all the cooking, you know, for the house. My mother really never cooked too much. You know, sometime on the weekend and stuff, she'd be cooking. Because when we got older, they made us cook when we come home from school. But I would watch them. You know what I'm saying? And I never forget one night they was arguing with each other, right? And my mother took a frying pan and hit him in the head, right? And so I said to her, "Now, why would you do something like that?" "Oh, well, he just made me so angry." I said, "But you don't do stuff like that." I said, because you should appreciate he the type of man, because another man, he would have knocked you out for hitting him in the head like that. I said,
right or wrong, we're not advocating
exactly.
violence.
I said,
Right or wrong.
I knew this at 16, and I'm telling her, you should be thankful you got a man that cooks for you. All you have to do is go a little shopping to the grocery store and all that kind of stuff and clean up the house. He does all the cooking and everything, and you got a nerve to be hitting him in the head with a frying pan.
You know what, Lottie? Granted, I know that years ago, marriage is a little bit more stabilized, right? Nowadays, you have kids having kids, you have unstable households, you have single parent household. You don't have that guidance, and you don't have what marriage looks like to replicate that, to mirror what that should look like, what it should feel like. So you jump out the frying pan to the fire, and you don't know what you're getting into. How many people, particularly Black and brown people, go to counseling, identify their strengths and weaknesses, like Sandler said, right? How many people even know that that's even an option, that they would make a difference of how they feel, and it makes a difference in the decisions that they make? People are not aware of these things, right? So then these are
you talking about going to counseling?
Yeah, I'm saying a lot of people.
Well, the reason they don't go to counseling because we always have had that stigma that if we go to counseling, then we must be crazy or something. And we got.
No, but I'm saying, but there's different counselors for different things. So what I'm saying is that people are not looking at self-care as a prerequisite for marriage. Okay, so they're not looking at that. It doesn't say, even with the stigma anyway, even Black and brown people not going to counseling for anything, whether it's marriage and divorce or psychological.
No, that's what I'm saying. They need to get away from that stigma and go to counseling.
These are some of the things that people need to know, need to be out there. And I'm glad that your service, your organization is putting this out there and not so quick to just take money. It's not about the monetary return that you get on providing this service. It's the quality of the service that you get, because you're just not providing a service of a divorce. You also giving the individuals a piece of a framework. Their mindset is a big difference after all. Like, what do you do? What is the trajectory after the divorce for them to understand the process?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I agree with you on not getting married too young. I don't think you should get married until after 30 anyway.
Well, I agree. And that's what I tell my children. I got my first marriage, which lasted over 20 years. My first marriage, I met my ex-wife when I was 14, and we got married at 20. You know, so you can imagine how many girlfriends I had. I ain't had no background girlfriends, no secret woman, you know, hiding, you know, in the corner, you know, just really one person committed. And a lot of that blueprint came from my parents, you know. But one thing I've learned, because now I'm divorced, and I do, and I'll say I do when I get married again, because I do expect to get married again. And the most important thing I've learned with the new love of my life is the fact that the only competition you should ever be in marriage is out serving each other. To your point earlier, Dr. V, service. You're always in service to your spouse. That's the only, I don't care who, I make more money, you got a job, you got a promotion, you travel, or I got a ton of clients, or I'm on an award-winning show tonight. Let's outserve each other. When you get off of work, what does she need? When I get off of work, you know what I mean. When she gets off work, what does he need? When I get off of work, what does she need? I'm going to see her today. And if she has kids, what do the kids need? What's going on with the kids?
And to add to that, leave work at work. Too many people bring work home.
Yes.
That becomes the center of that few hours that you have with each other.
Yes.
Leave work home.
And so you got, and then you have to do little extra stuff. You have to do a little extra stuff. It's like sometimes you have to tell the person what you want. Like sometimes I have, before I had got married, I dated guys, and I'm like, okay, when you come to see me on a Friday, you need to have some flowers in your hand, okay? Because I like flowers. Right. So sometimes you have to tell them what you like and what you want them to do. Because sometimes they just don't know. It doesn't mean they're not a nice person, they're not romantic, but sometimes they really just don't know. So you have to tell them some of the stuff that they're supposed to be doing to be romantic and and be lovable, and you because a woman wants a man to show that type of affection to them, and the men want the same thing.
That's right. Lay out your expectations. At each stage. This is first date, first year, first 6 months. Your expectations should be one thing. And then if we make it past the year mark, let's talk about the expectations at that point. And then as you go further, the expectations should get deeper, expand, or they should reduce and say, you know what, I was fine back where we were in the first 6 months. Let's kind of go back there, if that's the case. But be honest. And I think that's what contributes, like what we were saying in the great part of the show earlier, what contributes to the destruction is the fact people are not honest with themselves. And if they're honest with themselves, they're not honest with the other person because they think they're going to ruin something out of fear.
Exactly.
Right. But then sometimes they should also go under the cusp that we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
People can't sometimes always want to be right all the time. And sometimes people don't identify with themselves to say, okay, I'm wrong. Let me step back. Let me regroup. Let me just sit back and listen. Because when I say we can agree to disagree, that it depends on what perspective lens that you're looking at a situation. Okay. And then if you're looking at this, not that you're wrong, I can respect what you say, but I don't have to accept what you say.
Right.
And that's communication. A lot of people don't have communication.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because you know what? Those little things is more important than big things. Just that little simple. I know when I was married, my husband was a good person, but he wasn't that romantic because he would never talk to be romantic. You know what I'm saying? So I got to teach him that. When he come home from work, I'd have the food ready. I'm hugging his neck and everything. But what you hugging me for? I'm hugging you because I'm glad to see you coming in for work. So that's what I'm saying. It's just like little simple stuff like that, right? So then if I wanted to do something special, I knew he loved my banana pudding, right? So sometimes even during the week, I cook a banana pudding for dinner. Like, what we got banana pudding for? Or whatever. I thought I'd give you a treat today. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just have to Lottie.
You wanted something, Lottie.
There you go, Doc.
You wanted something, Lottie.
I'm being a gentleman tonight.
What's going on? He coming home. You
I'm just saying, it's those little things that you learn about your partner that they like and you do for them. And it'll start changing their behavior and how they act. Sometimes they want to try to act all rough and bad, but they ain't rough and bad. They just as mellow. But that's how you get them to start changing. And then that way they start treating you about what they know you like and stuff like that.
But you know what, Lottie? I heard somebody say one day, you got to make sure things are being reciprocated. Okay, because you can do. And people will be so complacent in their norm that they don't feel they have to reciprocate that. And it becomes all about them.
Yeah.
So it's one thing when you have the expectations out there, but it's not just projecting your expectation, but you want to be able to have that discussion, that dialogue to see what their expectations are as well.
And Dr. V, that's where the accountability comes in.
Yes.
That's where the check-ins come in. Because look, at the end, I learned something. I learned, and I've done over 1,000 divorces in 13 years. And so I've met 500 couples.
Right.
500 couples that I've been involved in helping them get divorced. Not to mention the work that I do with attorneys when they have trials and what have you. I get deep in the trenches. And the one thing I learned is the fact that this is something where we have to take it more serious than our day job.
Yeah.
Because we, you know what? Because one time I heard someone say, you go ahead and listen to everything your boss say and do everything your boss say without questioning. But when you come home, I'm not even telling you what to do. I'm just asking you, and you fighting me. You know, and that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely,
needs to be addressed. Because we've heard men receive love in the form of respect, and women receive love in the form of affection, and other things that are identifiable to that specific woman. And I think a lot of us just refuse to learn those lessons. And I'll say one more thing: marriages these days, because there was a time where we did it for survival. There was a time we did it to build community, and I think that's still important because what's happening to the community, especially the communities that look like us, you know. But at the same time, I will put this out there: marriage is something that needs to be customized, and that's something where you two need to sit down and say, what does our marriage look like? Not what our parents' marriage, not the people in church, not what the pastor say. We love the pastor, but not what the pastor say. How do we interpret what our marriage is going to look like? Because this is something that we're going to take seriously the way we decide to take it. Because it'll fall apart if we're following someone else's blueprint that we don't really believe in.
Yeah. That's why I say you got to do your own thing. You know, like I say, I don't have no problem with therapy because I need to go to therapy myself. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, after talking to so many therapists coming on the show and I got free therapy, I realized that I really needed this therapy, you know. And that's why I say we all need therapy, whether we think we believe it, need it or not. We need therapy. And I want us to stop being afraid to go get therapy because it does help you in your life. And then it makes you come to, you know, fruition of some of the things that may you want to do and you think you couldn't do it. Because I always remember President Obama saying, take that word chain out of your mouth because you can do what you need to do and everything, you know. But hey, our time is up again. And oh my God, this has been so good. I thank you so much, you know, for coming on and sharing your thoughts and telling us how to get quickie divorces. But we don't want them to get divorces, truthfully. We don't want them really to get divorced. So we don't want them coming to really to see you. We want them to try to work it out. But if they have to come see you, then they'll see when we'll put up the information and they can contact you, you know, and get in touch with you and everything. So thank you again, and come back again so we can go in part 2.
I would love
I got more to say. Love and marriage.
Yeah, me too. We ain't done yet. We
just touched the surface on it.
Yeah. This ain't a goodbye. This is to be continued.
So thank you again. Thank you for watching tonight. Remember, like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you want to be a guest on the show, call me, email, and contact me, and we'll set it up for you to come on if you got a story to tell. So as always, thank you, and we'll see you next time.